Hello and welcome to Raising Anchor, your podcast and source for all things Rhode Island FC. I'm your host, Matt Entrican, coming to you on Thursday, August 7th. RIFC turned the tide against Detroit City FC, beating them for the first time ever in a 1-0 game that wasn't pretty, but a much-needed 3 points all the same. Next up, they take on Loudoun United this Saturday. Can the Amber and Blue defeat one of their two final unbeaten teams in the Eastern Conference this weekend? Well, we're going to find all of that out and so much more, as joining me is the one and only co-host, Mr. Jason Carey. Jason, how goes it, my friend?
Not too bad. Still fighting off that sickness, the summer cold or whatever it is that's going around. But the win really helps. We should really do that more often.
The win helped your sickness?
No, it just helps the vibes.
I was gonna say winning cures a lot of things, but it doesn't heal the ick that you've had for a couple of days now, both internally, externally. There's been some sickness all around you, so please stay on that side of the table over there. And listen, this is these podcasts are piling on at this point. I feel like the action never stops, and then I look at next week's programming, and then we have a week off. Who knows? Will we take a week off? Probably not. We're the hardest working podcast in Rhode Island, so we have to keep going, right? Can't stop, won't stop, and we should immediately drop directly into what's going on here in the news. A couple of different things hitting the club and the fans all at the same time, and I think we're going to start things off here with the loan announcement that was a little earlier this week on Tuesday, as Rhode Island FC announced that it acquired 19-year-old midfielder Matthew Corkan on loan from Major League Soccer club Nashville SC, of course, pending league and federation approval. We saw him already play. The Dallas, Texas native previously actually worked with head coach Cano Smith at the Birmingham Legion FC between 2022 and 2023. So this is a bit of a reunion for both of these individuals. And this time around now, Corcoran is bringing that valuable MLS experience from Nashville. Connor Smith went on to say Matthew is a talented young midfielder who has high quality and vision in possession. His ability to read the game will add an extra dimension to our team as we move into this crucial stretch of the season. I want to kind of park that last bit of that sentence here for a minute. But prior to joining RAFC, the young midfielder impressed in his first season in the Major League Soccer, logging 243 minutes in 3 starts and 7 total appearances for Nashville. Recently, Corcoran slotted a goal for Nashville against the English Premier League side Aston Villa in a friendly. It was the first ever friendly that the Premier League has had against Nashville. It was a goal that helped them come back from a 2-0 deficit. It became a draw at the end, so maybe Corcoran's going to fit in perfectly here with this squad. But unrelated to Nashville, I think, and the bigger thing that we all need to keep just attention on is the fact that on the international stage, Corcoran has experience as both a U17, U19, and now a U20 level of United States Soccer Federation play. Right now, it's looking like he very much could be called up for the U20 World Cup. It's coming very quickly. It's around the corner. Overall, I know we saw online it was like another midfielder. Seriously, what's going on with this team? Jason, kind of talking things through you. What is going on with Corcoran, and why do we have yet another midfielder on this roster?
Yeah, I do. I think it's interesting to see that, another player with connections to Cano. That seems to be a theme. But in regards to him, he looked pretty decent against Detroit. I don't say a world beater, but obviously you could tell his talent, right? He was very comfortable receiving the ball in deep positions. He loved to just wait till the last second to really draw in those pressing players, and was very comfortable just making, passes around them. When I looked a little bit into his stats, he has very high pass accuracy. So he's very good at least in regards to those, probably those short mid-range passes. It's almost like a lock-on that he's going to find his target there. In regards to how does he fit into this team, it'll be interesting to see. He did like to, I've noticed, drop deep almost between the center backs to help build up the play. Maybe that's something we could use, as we don't have a lot of play going centrally, considering he hasn't had a lot of time with the team. Maybe as he integrates more, he can kind of be that like an anchor point through the middle of the field as he progresses, kind of receive the ball from the wings and distributed them out wide or even centrally. So, I mean, so far so good, I'd say.
We talked at length about the need for a little bit more ability within the center column of the pitch. We've been thinking it's more, a little bit more forward in that sense, less so much a need on that defensive side. Rhode Island FC continues to be one of the top defenses in the league. I know it doesn't feel like that for fans, but, I have to ask, if there's one position we have depth in the field, it's going to be the number 6. I feel like we have 8 different players who it's either their natural position or it's something that they're very comfortable in. If, what I liked about Corcoran is we're talking less than 72 hours after his loan, he's out integrating into this team. Like, it feels like it's seamless. It feels like it's flawless. I'm curious, what does he provide? What dimension will he bring that makes him that lock-on starter over a player like Rodriguez, who didn't get the start against his former club on the night? That's an interesting statement piece from Coach Cano Smith. We know he loves his guys when they comes from the loyalty from previous clubs and kind of coming up in the ranks. But I want to see what that differentiation he has between the rest of our stellar central midfielders, and it'll be curious to see how that unpacks in the coming weeks. I also wanted to talk to you. Got to go back to that recall language I mentioned a second ago. A lot of fans instantly hitting the panic button when Nashville released their statement saying that the loan could be recalled at any time and that he could be needed to provide for them some support in a stretch of the season as they make a deep run. Currently, they're in either 3rd or 4th, hashtag not an MLS podcast, but they are in the they're in the Open Cup quarterfinals. So they're getting ready to make their Open Cup run. Historically, we see teams kind of convert from the guys that got them to that point now into the senior team to get them across the finish line and potentially get a CONCACAF, Champions Cup berth or just win the whole thing outright.
Are they part of the Leagues Cup?
They were not, because they went into Open Cup instead. It was one of those weird Don Garber mechanics.
Like an and if or statement, kind of.
A couple teams did both because they made it their objective to do so, but Nashville very much on the Open Cup side of things. So, a lot of fans get concerned that, like, oh, this is Jack Panayiotou all over again. We're going to have Corcoran for a minute, and then we're going to have him recalled. But you just heard from Coach Cano Smith. He intends to have this player for a deep stretch of this team's run. So, I mean, for all intent, it sounds like Cano isn't just taking this guy on for 3 or 4 weeks as a favor to Nashville or a favor to Matthew. He's in this for the long haul, so we should be buckling up. Did you see anything that competed in that language that makes you question which one of these? I mean, we know that Nashville ultimately they're the ultimate authority on this, but is there anything that you read between the lines of those 2 statements?
I think that Nashville statement was weird. It felt like they intend to call him back at some point, the way they worded that. Throw in the fact that you had mentioned he's played at the youth team, and we have a Youth World Cup coming up. It's unconfirmed, but I've heard that when it comes to the Youth World Cups, you are actually able to deny the request from the federation to send your player there. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out if he is a lock-on starter by the time that comes and they try and take him away from us. Are we going to say no? And then also in regards to, is that decision us as the loanee, or is
it's got to be
the
Nashville's.
loaners? Like, is it Nashville say like, no, actually, we want him to go get the experience over there, and so it doesn't matter what we say.
Yeah, it's got to be Nashville's. And honestly, too, if we're being fair to Coach Cano Smith, he's a player's coach. He's a ride or die by his players, so he'll always do what's in the best interest. We've seen that with Jose Quizera on his international call-ups, which have at times impeded the ability for this team to move forward in the regular season. Absolutely, if Corcoran gets the call-up, which it sounds like he's most likely to get. So maybe as fans, we shouldn't get too attached to Corcoran because we could lose him for a spell right when we get to kind of the moment of criticality that's building here on this very interesting schedule ahead. I just want to ask overall performance, because we're going to get into so many things so quickly here. He was the instant addition. What did you see from him on the match? You said the quick passes, you said the ability to turn. What else kind of stood out for you on his game?
I mean, it's, small sample size, but he didn't look out of place for someone who had, I assume, little to no training with the team. Like, he looked very comfortable on the ball for a 19-year-old, and like he looked like he belonged. And if that's how well he can play that fast, I'd be curious to see in a few weeks if we see maybe another dimension to him, and maybe like there's one almost pass that he did make that did fail, where he tried to send it over the top to one of our forwards, make it a run that, maybe with a little bit more kind of time with the team, he would have had a better idea of where that player was like bending their run to like actually make that pass. And maybe that's what Connell brought him in for, is those kind of final third, that key pass that we've been missing.
Agreed. So we'll have to see what happens there, but not to be done this week. But wait, there's more. Another player finally joins the squad, one of the worst kept secrets of the season, and one Dwayne Busy Atkinson.
Yeah, it feels like we've been talking about this for a while.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So yeah, Rhode Island FC announced today that it has signed midfielder Dwayne Atkinson on a permanent transfer from the Jamaican Premier League side Cavalier FC, pending league and federation approval. The 23-year-old Jamaican international joins the Ocean State Club after leading Cavalier FC to 3 Jamaican Premier League titles and 1 CONCACAF Caribbean Cup title in 5 seasons, scoring 50 goals in more than 130 appearances for his hometown club.
That's pretty impressive when we think about it. Like, that is no joking matter. And Kano had this to say about him. Dwayne is a young, exciting, attacking player with a lot of potential. He's full of energy, creativity, and he's going to give us a spark in the attack for the second half of the season and beyond. So what's interesting is we didn't see that was potentially a multi-year contract. Obviously, when you're coming in mid-season, usually you have to get like at least 1.5.
Yeah, year and a
so
half.
He's going to be a player that we're going to look at his pedigree for the time to come there.
And yeah, so netting 50 goals, 9 assists, I mean, in 21, 24, 25
He's
titles, like that's impressive. That could be kind of that winning mentality that maybe this team needs to kind of get them over the line. When we think about the way we've kind of been playing a 3-4-3, maybe it makes sense because I imagine he's going to occupy one of those winger spots. But just to kind of finish off his profile here, at an international level, he's made 6 appearances for the Jamaican national team, and most recently made his first ever start for the Reggae Boys in their 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup Group C win over Guadeloupe on June 20th, representing one of the 5 domestic Jamaican players to feature in the country's 2025 Gold Cup squad.
Listen, he's the real deal. There's lots of questions. Again, we could say, oops, all midfielder. The club has labeled him as such. He plays as a cam, but he's also has spent a majority of his time equally as a winger, primarily on the left, but he's dabbled on the right, similar to how we've played our wingers, if we're being honest. Quizera has kind of played multiple roles within the team on each flank. Fuson has done that at times when asked upon him. So we've learned that he will fit that role. And even as Kano said, he's not just a midfielder. He is going to be an attacking player. You don't get 50 goals in your time at the JPL and not be something that's looking forward and making those dangerous runs. Jason, we learned after first breaking the story last, I think, 2 weeks ago now, we asked the question, is the JPL, where does it rank in the FIFA index? Where is it comparatively and competitively to the championship? And the fans, they jumped on it. We didn't really talk about it because we'd already moved on in the segment. But the JPL is actually ranked higher in terms of competitive play than the championship. So this isn't one of those like we found some bargain bin $1 DVD, at Walmart. This is a legitimate attacking player from arguably a better league coming in and to provide some much needed reinforcements on the offensive front. We've got Corkan now on the backside. We've got getting busy up front. Is this the turn in the season for us?
I think there's a very good possibility. I mean, it helps that we won last night. We've got another opportunity coming up just here very shortly to kind of continue that momentum. But it's also kind of now or never at this point too, right?
Agreed. And then arguably it's almost the same kind of question that we just asked about Corcoran. He's an international player. When we hit those international breaks, that could be 3 players gone on international assignment between Quizera, Atkinson, and Corcoran, all at different stages of kind of the FIFA calendar. This could be kind of the best of times, and it could quickly become the worst of times if these players, especially Atkinson,
gonna shine really bright and burn out really quickly.
We will have to see. So nevertheless, it's exciting to have these reinforcements. Maybe another player's on the way. Maybe there's someone else coming that we might or might not be able to talk about in the near future. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know, Jason?
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. But hey, let's get back into this and let's go over the recap of the performance of Rhode Island FC versus Detroit City FC. RIFC defeats DCFC for the first time ever in club history, lifting the team back into the final playoff spot of the Eastern Conference table. Jason, I feel like this was a match of Herculean defense and completely absent offense. What say you?
Yeah, if we want to try and balance this with the good and the bad here, here's a few kind of interesting stats. So Rhode Island FC right now unbeaten in his last 5 home games at Centerville Bank Stadium across all competitions.
Wouldn't believe it. Would not believe that statement.
I wouldn't, I don't believe that saying it out loud, but sure. But it took 420 minutes or 32 days to snap a pretty bleak streak here of going without a goal in the championship. Longest since 379 minutes without scoring from the 30th of March 2024 to 21st of April 2024. I think it was the entire month of July, right? Or was it July 5th was the last?
It was in June.
It was in June, yeah.
Yeah. Well, with the Jägermeister, and I guess with the Jägermeister Cups mixed in, it, there were moments, right? The Hearts of Pine game, even the Hartford game, we got the draw and it was electric in that sense. Didn't go our way at the end. But yeah, that is not a good stat. And we'll unpack some of where the goal production has been over those last 420 minutes and beyond, of course. But we got to talk about the goal that was the difference maker. Maxi Rodriguez, 60th minute, buries a penalty kick in the bottom right corner, giving Rhode Island the go-ahead goal. It was his first touch coming onto the pitch just a minute and 30 seconds into his substitution. He basically walks up, goes to the spot, picks up the ball, and shoots for the goal. It's allowed Rhode Island FC to now maintain that unbeaten record of 20 games in a row, won or drawn, but unbeaten when they've scored first, all the way back since the game right after Colo Spigs back last year in 2024. Maxi Rodriguez, absolutely ice in his veins.
Yeah, one touch, one goal. Easy stuff, right? And so he's actually scored his team-leading 6th goal of the year in all competitions, scoring from the penalty spot there in the 60th minute. He's also buried all of his 6 last penalties in the USL Championship regular season, dating back to last season, including 3 for Rhode Island FC this year at Centerville Bank Stadium.
So when he took this shot, Jason, we talked about it as he was lining it up. I said he always goes left. I wasn't just making that up. There were stats that he had predominantly went left. When we first found that Maxi was the primary penalty kick taker from the spot, we went in and looked at his profile. And so here it is on the screen for those that are interested. This is a heat map of his last 6. The only one that he missed was last season against Tampa Bay. But otherwise, and if you go back even further, I can't pull more than the last 6 matches, I should say. But most of it is like, I think he's 85% to the left. These most recent 2, one against Hartford, against Siaha, and the Jägermeister Cup. Not the penalty he took to draw the game, but the penalty he took when it got to penalties at the end of stoppage time. And then, of course, this one, Jason, I was ready to put a $100 bet down with you that he was going left, and I am glad that I did not do that.
Yeah, save yourself some money there. But so that goal puts Maxi in the leaderboard here for RFC now with 3 goals in the championship season. The fact that it's on
3 goals is the leading goal scorer. We're going to talk about Loudoun's later today, and I will tell you, he's in the double digits. We all know the player in question, but 3 goals is now the lead scoring goal producer for Rhode Island FC. That is wild.
Yeah, but so the real question here is, we got the W, right? And so, but when we look at the performance, like, was that good enough, if you will? I mean, at the end of the day, the scoreline is all that matters, right? But if we're thinking long term, right, we're trying to build on something here, right? How do you feel about how that match panned out there?
So normally I would just wax poetic for 20 minutes. We'd run 2 hours long, and I might still do that, but I feel like it's always important to let Coach Cano Smith go first. So we're going to have Cano, in his own words, share what he thought about this performance and what it means to the boys and how it moves forward. But I will say this before we go into it. I thought it was pretty interesting that Maxi didn't celebrate that goal. I figured for all the treatment he's been getting, all of the bulletin board material he's been using for the way Detroit City FC fans have treated him, both at that leg, even continuing on to the online forums today, I figured he'd be ready to do a little Steven Turnbull.
Maybe it was more of a sign of respect for his teammates than at the actual fans, right?
Oh, agreed.
And he probably still has feelings for all the guys that he used to play with there.
100%. And we all know that it all comes down to that new haircut. When you get a cut like that, you got to keep it classy, and it changes you. So can't wait to find out why Maxi did that haircut. We tried to get him in the press conference, but he was a little late to it, so we didn't get to go through it. But here's Coach Kano in his own words on the thoughts of this match.
Really proud of the team. That's a big win against a very good team. They're well coached. Have a distinct style of play, and they're very difficult to get the ball off us. So we had to suffer a lot, but the boys, they dug deep tonight. So really proud of them.
What's your biggest takeaway? Obviously, you get the penalty call, it goes your way, and you make the kick. Outside of that, what was your biggest takeaway from the 90 minutes you saw going forward?
Just the determination, and they had to dig in, they had to suffer. Like, you're talking about it a lot. Sports is hard, soccer's hard. It's never easy. So we dug in. I think we still could create more. If I'm being hypercritical, we could still create more, and we could be more dangerous and better with the ball in periods of the game.
Coach, the goal did not come from the run of play. You do snap a 420-minute goalless streak. I think it's about 32 days across regular championship play. What are you looking at from this game, and reflecting back also on Saturday's game around how goals can come from the run of play? What's that piece that you're working on practice after practice?
Get the ball in the net. Just put the ball in the net. That's how.
So it's just the final touch at that point?
Soccer's hard. You got to put the ball in the net. It's playing against good teams that have good defenders. It's not as easy as you think it is.
Quick turnaround after a win, almost a good thing? Or would you rather have more time?
Yeah, it'd be nice to have at least an extra day, but we've done it this year. Teams have done it coming here, so yeah, it's the schedule that we're given. But yeah, extra days rest would be nice, but got to deal with it.
How big a difference was it to have Koke back? I mean, it's a couple really, really big saves when it was still 0-0.
I don't want to diminish Jackson by any means. Jackson's done really well for us, and Jackson's a starter in this league. And his ultimate teammate, he took the decision well, and he understood why, and it was just more so Koke's experience. We wanted to lean on his experience for a tough match, but yeah, that's not to diminish Jackson by any means. Koke is.
It's good to have the captain back. I mean, a guy who can steady the ship at all times. I mean, he does a lot for you guys, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's why we played him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you put Maxi in specifically to take that PK, or was he planning on coming in?
Well, he was getting ready anyway, but then when it got cold, yeah, I wanted to make sure. But those moments are also tricky. You know, the player hasn't touched the ball and he's going up. You've seen plenty of times where it's not a great decision, but yeah, luckily he made it. He made it a great decision.
Right. Well, I guess the follow-up to there is the confidence that you have in him to just essentially come in cold and nail it.
Yeah, and obviously he was disappointed not to start, like any athlete that you would want and expect that from. So he was disappointed, but I did tell him specifically that if he was on the field and we got a PK, that he's taking it. He's number one on the list. So yeah, I do have confidence in him in that moment and in many moments.
Speaking of players that started, Matthew Corkan comes onto the squad, announced just days ago. Overall, can you walk us through the addition of him to this team and the impact and the benefits he's going to be having in that midfield moving forward?
Yeah, Matthew is excellent in possession. He likes to dictate the tempo and the rhythm of the game. Yeah, I thought he did that tonight. You know, he's 19, he's brave. He doesn't hide. He loves to get on the ball and get the team moving forward. So, yeah, when Nashville reached out and asked We were interested. You know, I've known Matthew since he was, I think, 15, 16 years old in Birmingham when he showed up with us. So I spent a lot of time with him outside of the soccer environment. So we always hoped that there was an opportunity for us to work together again. And so yeah, we just had to fit him in somewhere. But yeah, he's hopefully trying to make the U20 World Cup roster. So he needed more minutes in a first team environment.
What did you like about the way you killed the game off there the last 20, 30 minutes? I mean, you had one chance, but you kind of made the game start, kind of took them out of their rhythm, it felt like.
Yeah, it's just that's professionalism. I even think we could have been more professional. You know, it's a moment at the end where we're 90 seconds to go and we're trying to go score, and maybe we just take it to the corner. So that's a learning moment. But yeah, that's what you need to do in professional soccer.
The players have been quoted, during the signature alley, talking to fans about how important it is to get wins here at Centerville Bank Stadium. This team's been phenomenal on the road. It's been a little bit more of an uphill battle here inside the stadium. How important, what have the players been telling you? How does the technical staff feel about finally being able to reward fans with a home victory here midweek?
Yeah, obviously everybody's thrilled. You know, we talk about coming here. You get in everybody's best shot because they want to win in this beautiful venue, and you think just because you're a home team, you show up, you're going to win games. Like, the opposition is really juiced up to play here. Like, this is a beautiful venue, and we're getting 5% better of everybody else because they want to perform on a big stage with lights, good fans, good crowd. So yeah, we all want to win at home. That's no secret. It's obviously important to win in front of your supporters.
And then 4 player changes this week from Saturday's game against Pittsburgh. How close are you to finding what you would consider that starting 11 that could take you into a deep stretch here in the back half of the season? You kind of locked that in pretty close last year. Have you seen your best starting 11 so far this season? And if not, how close are you to seeing those players?
I don't know. Going game by game, you have to win whatever game is up next and what players are available. We've had key players injured for a significant amount of time. So we had a suspension today. So yeah, it's a good problem to have multiple options.
So that was Cano Smith. It's so interesting when you ask him a question where it's you're insinuating something negative about the team. You can just feel the wrath,
vitriol.
the ire. It's vitriol. Yes, it is. And then as soon as you give him something a little bit more constructive, he can kind of give some quotes. What I thought was interesting, though, before you jump in, is the end of that statement. How close are you to that starting 11? I don't know if I buy that, because every coach with their technical staff, when they're making the acquisitions for the season, they have that primary squad. They have that A squad that they believe on paper is their best 11. So somewhere in Cano's mind, there's a theoretical best 11 that he's trying to get towards. Now, granted, as he's acquired new players, it's added new dimension, but that all should be close. There should be a target roster in his mind that's independent of injuries or a lapse in performance. Surprised that he, couldn't at least say, like, we're getting closer and closer to that. And there's still too many variables out there to lock down what he thinks might be his best 11 players.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen in the last few weeks here a slight change in formation. We've just added a few new players here. So I kind of wonder at a certain point too, as what looks like we're maybe drifting away from that 4-2-3-1. Maybe he's kind of had to change in plans. Maybe the idea 11 that he pictured in his mind just hasn't worked out for him. Obviously, this team has had plenty of injuries to kind of cause that issue. But at this point, there's only so much that he can kind of figure out when it's a quick change here in this new 3-4-3 kind of system that we have. And so speaking of which, as we kind of unpack the game a little more, when we look into the lineup here, we did see Koke Vegas return into net with a back three of Bacharach, Yao, and Mabika there. A midfield 4 there with Holstead out on the right, Ibarra and Corcoran in the middle, with Sanchez out on the left there, with a front 3 of Amos Shapiro-Thompson, Chico, and Quizera as those, 3 forwards, wingers, and a striker there kind of combination.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that those changes come for players that did not carry over from the Pittsburgh match not starting, but then there's also 6 positional changes within this formation. Still a 3-4-3, but yet there's this, it's that tinkering, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. Notable highlights here, of course, the return of goalkeeper and RIFC captain Koke Vegas after an 11-game injury absence. I knew it was a long time. I had forgotten just how long it was. He makes his first start in the net since May 24th. Yikes. Marky Barra getting his 100th appearance of all time across USL Championship. That's exciting to see. And then Matthew Corkan also getting his first appearance with Rhode Island FC. I guess the other thing, we didn't talk about it at the beginning. We said that the impact of how he was able to kind of blend in so quickly despite the amount of minutes. But I want to ask the harder question now to you. Wouldn't have dared ask it to Kano at the moment. But does his start over other players, we talk about the depth at the 6, does that send the right message to the rest of Kano's midfield? I mean, like he said how Rodriguez wasn't happy to play. Imagine Rodriguez coming in at the beginning of the season. He might be, he may not be that marquee signing. And then suddenly against his former team where he's probably the most amped to play, this 19-year-old kid that they didn't have on their radar last week is taking his spot. I'm not trying to pull straws here. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. I'm not a professional soccer player, but man, I'd be ticked.
Yeah, I don't know. In that regards, though, the reality is this team hasn't been good enough, though, right? And so something has to change to like move the needle forward in regards to results. And coach feels that the midfield is kind of the issue, right? This team, despite it not feeling like that, is one of the better defensive teams in the league, right? We maybe don't win all the time, but we don't lose by large margins, right? It's one, occasionally a 2-goal loss there. So in that regards, I think he feels that we're probably not using the midfield effectively enough to get the ball forward, to get our strikers or wingers, our attacking players, the chances that they need. It's the thing you have to build from the bottom, right? So the defense, the keeper, that's kind of to a certain extent sorted out. Well, now as we're moving the ball higher up this theoretical pyramid, the midfield, Connell feels, is the issue here. And he has a plethora of midfielders, but maybe they're just not, with a combination of injuries and them also not doing what he wants in terms of like tactics to move the ball forward. He felt that he needed to bring in someone else.
So do you think we'll see more formation and tactical change, or now he can play just about any formation? Now is it just picking the right players on the right day?
I mean, at this point, like 3-4-3 seems to be our new 3-5-2 from last year. I think especially with the signing of Busy, I imagine that he will be one of those wide kind of left or right forwards or wingers, if you will. At this point, looks like probably no 10 position. Not that we ever really played a legit 10 last year.
But Busy can play a 10. He played both. I know you're giving me the side eye over there, but he played in both roles. He played both as an out-and-out winger, and then at times he would tuck in, and he would tuck in right at the top of that midfield. So he has some duality there.
And maybe if he's able to kind of, because in that role there, what helped us really well last year was whoever's playing that 10 role was actually more of an 8.
It was just a rotating set of 8s.
Yeah.
Someone got put up to the front position, and they
in that
rotate.
regards, it gives you that added defense from the front type of ability. And sure, maybe Busy could tuck under like Chico and JJ or something, or Chico and Noah, or whatever combination of forwards you have there. But if he doesn't have that, like in his skill set to also be a part of the midfield to track back and kind of help win the ball back, move it forward, I don't think that's more effective than just pushing him out to the wing to become more of a threat.
Fair enough. We do want to kind of deep dive, though, into that change and the positions that you had mentioned a second ago as you listed the formation. We've talked about it at length all season, and I want to give a shout out to @USL Plots, who did some digging into the stats for the first 15 weeks of the season, specifically focusing on the number of starter rotations from game to game. When you look at the data here for Rhode Island, it looks like, at least in theory, that Rhode Island FC has been a mostly consistent team from game to game, but there's a deeper story here, isn't there?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when we look at the row there in the regards to changes, clearly Kano's a David Bowie fan, but it doesn't tell the full picture, like you said. The reality is, if you look at a roster from game to game, you'll see a lot of the same names. But then if you go into the lineup, the issue is that players will be moved from, right center back one game to left center back the next game. Then we're playing a 4-back line again. And now, Rio Hope Gun is a left back and Clay's a right. We'll see a lot of the same players, but moved all around the field. So that rotation, I think, is kind of causing the issue where we're putting players into positions that maybe are not their strong suit, that they're not too comfortable with. So you could argue that, well, you still carried 9 players over from the last game, but we moved like 4 of them to different positions.
What does your gut tell you when you look at these numbers? 9, 10, 9, 9, 8, 9, 8, 8, 11. What does your gut tell you is the real truth to this when you include positioning into this?
I'd say it's more like a bunch of like 7s.
I was going to say
8s.
6s, actually. I was going to go a step
Even
lower.
lower, yeah.
Just because, like, to your point, sometimes the second we go from a back 3 to a back 4, that's 2 position changes. And in addition to, sometimes we then swap the entire back line, like you said, from left to right. So, like, you can have 4 position changes by just moving one player.
Yeah, I mean, like Joe Jaya, for instance, has played right wing
All the
back,
wings.
probably even like right wing back at some point early on. Like similarly, like we have, like I said, Rio Hope Gund has played center back. He's played right back. He's played left back. Clay, holding midfielder, right center back.
Batcherak now is a right center back. He's played a left center back. He's our CDM
midfielder. So
it's a problem. So it's interesting to see, but I feel like while that's a great number in the surface level, there's a lot to unpack there. That may be some of the Achilles heel behind why, when we talk roster consistency match over match, we haven't really gotten there yet.
The one thing I would have to kind of, and we have to say a lot of this with caveats, right? There's been 17 injuries this year. So, and it feels like a lot of them have just kind of come out of nowhere. All of a sudden someone is not in the lineup and they're in that like RI post all of a sudden. And then we see Clay played last week. Well, but now Clay's a center back this week. And so
want to jump into, speaking of one of those rotations, like we said, Koke Vegas makes his return. Overall thoughts on his impact on the match. Kano defending that he's not gonna celebrate Koke to diminish Jackson Lee. I understood that the intent of the question there was more of a, hey, Jackson Lee is a starter. I think Jackson Lee is a perfectly suitable keeper. I'm also of the opinion that Koke Vegas offers a little bit more specifically to how Coach Kano wants to play the game. And we saw that on the night with some of the things I think we're going to talk about. I thought it was an interesting thing that he didn't want to relish in the incredible game that Koke Vegas had. Man of the match by far, for those listening that have different thoughts in the chat here. But overall, what was his immediate contribution to this match and just the overall returning to the squad?
I mean, yeah, 3 big saves in this match, kept his 5th clean sheet of the season and 12th of his Rhode Island career here. We saw an immediate impact when he came in. All of a sudden, the center backs felt comfortable to just turn around if they were kind of stuck and play the ball back to Koke, because they knew that he would be comfortable to receive the ball anywhere there along the back line and, make decent pass there in regards, right? We saw a lot with Jackson Lee, and, to Connor's credit, right? We don't want to diminish what Jackson Lee has done for this team. He is a great keeper. He is just not necessarily the style of keeper that I think that this team needs to flourish. He'd be a starter on pretty much any other team in this league. But Koke adds that extra dimension to our back line. And I think he makes the center backs feel a little more comfortable to maybe go on those kind of like crazy runs that Ugo has showed so far that he kind of likes to do when he gets an open field in front of him. He's just like, I'm going to see if I can dribble past 3 or 4 people and just bring this attack forward.
Agreed. Here's Koke Vegas. We're going to keep his interview a little short just because we're running short on time. But here's Koke Vegas in his own words returning to Centerville Bank Stadium.
It feels like we haven't seen it so long. Can you walk us through that?
Well, I mean, as I said before outside, I'm so happy to be back. If you say that this feels forever, imagine for me. I feel like it was a long time, probably the longest injury that I got in my career. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. But as I told before, credit to the team. I think we saw a brave team today, trying to play, try to leave all the expectations, all the pressure, everything away. I saw a team that enjoyed a lot today, and I saw fans enjoying the team today. I saw a team that was suffering well when we had to suffer, when you are winning, and in these kind of moments that we were having, like you need to suffer, and you have to know how to suffer, and we did it. So I'm really proud of the team. I think offensively and defensively, we did a complete game. We got those 3 points that at the end of the day is the most important. And then we gotta be honest, and we know that we are not in the spot that we wanna be, and we have the quality to be better than we are right now. So hopefully this victory and those 3 points can help us to take a good momentum for the rest of the season. Hopefully, yeah.
How are you so sharp? I mean, you made some really nice reflex saves. How'd you stay sharp while not playing for the last couple months?
Well, at the end of the day, I always say that we have a goalkeeper union that is top quality. From the coach, goalkeeper coach, to the goalkeepers, like 3 of us. Amazing goalkeeper union. And people don't know how is the quality that we have. And I think even that was a long time that I was out, trained the last few weeks with them, obviously with a process that I was doing is from the beginning, is like come to a top environment again. So that helps you a lot to be sharp again because the standard that they set is very high. So they have the credit of my performance today with the team. Like create an environment that helps you a lot.
You mentioned getting 3 points. How important is it to try and stack 3 points on top of it?
I don't gonna lie, it's huge. It's huge for us. Like at the end of the day, like I can understand like people, like maybe don't believe in us like in every single moment. It's normal. We did some performances that were not our best performances, but at the end of the day, I still believe that we have an amazing team, an amazing quality, and we just need like be with more confidence, probably. I think we were in a low confidence moment. And again, I saw today a team that was brave, that leave all the expectation, all the pressure away. And I see my teams, like every single of them, like expressing themselves. And I think that's huge.
As the captain, what can you do to inspire that confidence? What do you do to try and help these guys get to a point where you got to last year?
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to compare with last year. Hopefully we can be as successful as we were last year. But at the end of the day, if we start to think about like win the Eastern Conference champions, like make the finals, like I think we will be wrong. I think right now we have to play one game at a time. I think today was huge again, and now we need to rest and prepare the next game in 2 days. Now we win another one, that will be amazing, and we have to go for another one. That's it. That's my message to the group. One game at a time. Like, remember why we play this game. We love this game. We enjoy a lot the ball, and that's the only thing that I can do. Try to give as much confidence and my best energy and all those things, like things that I can control. I cannot control mistakes. Mistakes are gonna happen, always, to me and to every single one. Like, referee, I cannot control the referee, the stoppage time. Like, I cannot control those things, but I can control my energy. I can control, like how much I feel them, that I believe in them. Like, all those things, I think that matters. And more in a moment that maybe the confidence wasn't the best. I think that's the role that I can play, or the role that I could play when I was out of the team.
Okay, you talk about just playing it for the next there's not been a lot of wins here in front of fans at home. What does this kind of win do to the spirits of this team beyond just getting back on track? How important is it to get a win in front of Rhode Island FC fans here at Centerville Bank Stadium?
First thing, at the end of the day, right now, I think we just need a win. It doesn't matter if it was in here or not. First thing, we need a win. We got a win and was in here. That makes the win even more special. And I'm so happy, obviously, for the team, because we need it, as everybody. But I think the fans and everybody in here really deserve it. Really deserve it. They were, you guys were pretty disappointed so many games. Even games that we got points, the field wasn't the best. So I think today, again, everybody enjoyed. And I say to the team something that, like, my goal today was leave the pitch proud of everybody. That doesn't mean that we are going to win or not, but I'm sure that we are going to be close to win if we are proud of each other. And I think I left the stadium today really proud of my team.
As a professional, you're right, the fans.
So I'm going to stop there because one, we just got to cut it for time, but I'll put the rest of it up on some extra content. He goes on to talk about, how does he keep the noise? Because the players hear some of the commentary that's been going on beyond this podcast. They read social media. One of the questions is, how do you silo that? How do you put the blinders on and battle through a match? And then, of course, because it's a clean sheet, Jason, I asked them, how do you celebrate with donuts knowing that you have another game on Saturday? And he said it probably won't be as sweet of a donut knowing that Kano has to keep us, as healthy as possible going into that next set of matches. Listen, he is ever the captain. He's ever the professional. You see the comments in the chat talking about it. I'm just happy he's back. I can't wait to see what a difference he makes beyond this. And knowing that Jackson Lee is right there, keeping him honest, giving him pressure to make sure that he never rests on his laurels in the starting spot. That's a great problem. You talk about depth. That's a great depth problem to have. We got to move on, though. Let's get to the elephant in the room of the night. Was that a handball? Because a lot of people were telling me it wasn't. And even though, we'll still take it all the same.
It feels really harsh. But at the same time, like, we've probably had, I try not to be one of those people who harps on individual decisions and keeps me up at night. Like, I don't need that in my life. But I imagine if we were being petty, we could probably dig up some decisions where, like, that wasn't that wasn't a foul against us, or we've probably even got a penalty against us that maybe wasn't 100% a penalty. So the reality is we just have to accept that this is the quality of reffing in the championship, and that you just have to be very mindful of where your arms are when you're in the box. Whether or not there's a lot that you can always do about that can maybe be up for debate. From the angle I saw, it felt like it was somewhat of a natural position, not too far off the body like he was trying to extend it. But, you just got to take it when it's given to you. And I mean, Maxi came out and took the penalty well. And we, maybe didn't create a lot of other chances, but we defended collectively as a unit for dear life at that point.
Incredible defense. I will not take that away from anyone. As a team effort, by the way, just because the offense may not have been as online as we wanted. And we knew that going into this game with no JJ Williams serving out his red card suspension. Want to talk about the goal production, though, because I think now we're pretty much past worrying about the defense. It's really more down to how is this offense going to change beyond the recent additions. Looking at it overall, it was the 15th goal of the season, but there's just only been 5 goals at Centerville Bank Stadium across the regular season, and 2 of those have been from the penalty spot. We've only scored 3 goals at Centerville Bank Stadium in the second half. So once we had gotten to the half, it was like, oh man, well, can we find one in this game? We've only scored 5 goals in the regular season in the second half. We talk about the failure for Rhode Island FC. They have now failed to score a first half goal in 12 of their 19 games, including some of the non-regular season performances. The only team worse than us now at this point is the Las Vegas Lights, and it doesn't even feel fair to compare ourselves to them as they go through kind of a restructure. They've jettisoned some players. They now have a new head coach from Charleston Battery and the assistant that was there. So that's not a comparison you want to be to, but it gets worse when we look at this game specifically on the midweek matchup. We didn't have that many shots on target. And of the ones we did, one came in the 40th minute, and then the next one came in the 89th minute. That is far too many minutes in between for goals, for shots on target. And you look at Chico on the night, just 5 passes, 9 touches, not a single shot registered. It's like, we know that he's had problems. We know that he's inconsistent. He can go streaky in either direction, it feels like. But like when you now know that there's another attacking player coming in, JJ Williams is getting back up to form, you want to see Chico be a little bit more dangerous, be a little bit more aggressive, find a way to sniff out a goal and help this team. Seems like he continues to struggle. Right now, Rhode Island FC, when they do score the opening goal, they've won 4 matches and drawn 1. So that's a benefit. But the reality is that like it's just not good enough, is it? We have to find a way to score more goals. We asked Kano in the interview, where's the goal come from the run of play? He said it's difficult to score. He looked me up and down, Jason. He knew I had never played the game, and he was like, "You have no idea why you're asking me this question." I'm going to ask you.
I think it's a fair question, though. Like sure, did Miami last year help us stat pad a little bit? Yes. But we're also the 3rd highest scoring team last year. At this point, like, what changed in regards to why this team can't score? And I think it's a fair question to ask. Obviously it is difficult to score, and soccer is a low scoring game. We're not expecting, 5 goals a match, but we're averaging under a goal. Like, what was it like last week? It was like
0.67 goals.
I mean, even the team who doesn't score goals, Pittsburgh, is closer to like 0.9. So like,
and they're also in 5th place.
Even very defensive teams tend to average 1 goal a game. Like if you're below that, then that's very much some sort of issue. What exactly that issue is, it's difficult to ascertain. I think part of it is quality chance creations that we're just not getting from a flux of like too many changes and maybe a broken midfield. And
well, let's talk about that because if Kano doesn't want to answer the question, maybe we can. On the screen for those that follow along, and we do encourage you to follow in the video format of this show, you'll see an average positioning, and this has got to be one of the most defensive positionings we've ever seen Rhode Island play in. Only 1 player fully across the half, and remember, that's Amos Shapiro-Thompson. Detroit City FC made it their game to play in the central channel and to keep the press alive. We had, moving to the next slide, some of the worst possession in Detroit's side we have ever seen as a club. We brag at times that while we're a possession-based team, we move into the final third a lot. We just can't find the conversion into goals. This game starts to tell a different picture, as I think Detroit did what we've missed. We don't have that central player who can find the pass in that column, in that channel, and then take a look and whether or not they can go towards goal, or they put it back out to the wings, or invert the order and you're on the wings and then they pass to a player waiting at the top of the box. Detroit looked really dangerous on the night, kind of picking apart our back line no matter how much space we tried to occupy. That's something that doesn't seem to exist in Rhode Island's game right now. Excitingly, though, if you do look at the left column of data, historically, this has been much more a one-sided affair, often in the 45 to 50 percentile on that left channel, as Georgia carries the ball for us a majority of the time. I think this is one of the first games we've seen all season where the right side of the attack actually beat out the left through the likes of Amos Shapiro-Thompson and Clay Holstead. Again, not playing in their natural positions, but trying to differentiate the attack on both flanks. Exciting to see. That being said, this is where we have to talk. Look at this heat map, Jason. There is no central attacking midfielder. So when we talk about how teams protect the space and how they force our attack, everything is going out wide. You see the entire distribution of it's a stereotyped attack. It's telegraphed. They know what's going to come from it because we don't have a player. Even when JJ Williams is here, he normally either collects the ball and immediately attempts something, or it's a header that deflects the ball to a second runner or out to the flanks. We are missing that player in the center who can collect the ball and do something else. And that's not just because of the heat map for those watching. Look at the touch map as well. I shouldn't be able to put a circle anywhere in the middle third that doesn't have at least a touch point from our team. There's a complete, it's like there's quicksand there. There's just like, that is no man's land. Kano is telling his players, if you step in lava, you're burned. We cannot have this moving forward. This is the problem. Can Dwayne fix this for us as the new potential cam/winger? I don't know. Can Maxi Rodriguez? We finally saw him as a false nine. We've been begging for it all season. Granted, he gets the penalty goal, but we don't see anything else from it in the run of play. Jason, you're the smarter person between the two of us and just about everything. Tell me how to fix this, and then I'll go tell Kano, and he can yell at me.
I mean, it's a complicated problem. When you play a 3-4-3 like that, right? Your two holding midfielders there are going to be centrally. You would expect your striker to be able to kind of pick up some of those opportunities there. You know, you need to be able to retain the ball well and kind of move your shape forward. I mean, maybe this is a problem we've seen through this team throughout this season, right? It's very glaring here. And maybe this is just one of those things where we have to give Detroit their credit that their game plan worked very well. Didn't work out for them in terms of the result. They were able to pin us back in regards to not letting us get forward there. With that 3-5-2, with those like three rotating eights kind of pressing there and attacking behind those two forwards. We didn't really see that problem last year. We've shifted now and taken one of those eights and turned him into another attacking player. And in that regards, those attacking players have to work really hard off the ball. And so at that point, if this is going to work, we either need to be very lethal in our conversions and accept that we're not going to have a lot of the ball, have those wingers be available and ready to receive those kind of transition and counterattack. And from there, they need to then turn that into a chance. If we want to actually have some sort of possession there in the field, they're going to have to work hard off the ball and try and drag the team forward.
Agreed. There's some comments as we're catching up in the chat. Joe Brito got robbed. Joe Brito needed to take a stop. He needed to pause, like step one towards the near post. You know, he has the breakaway. If you saw him, we're talking about the last minute attempt, which everyone started screaming.
The pasa, where you kind of just stutter your...
But he knows he's burned everyone behind him. So the only defender holding him on is the one that he is looking at for the pass from Noah Fuson. He knows he's already offside. At that point, you need to slow down, or you need to cut in and ensure that may pull you out of the dangerous attacking lane. But like there's just something to be said when a player sees the person that's going to hold them on and then doesn't try to like jockey through that, especially in the championship, where I feel like, unlike with VAR and the refs have now had a little bit of a conversation where like I'd rather let the remote team make the judgment call and keep the flag down. In championship, I very rarely see that. Like very often, if they think that there's a chance, they're going to always wave that flag for offsides majority of the time. Sucks to see, because Brito was so close to then becoming another player with 2 goals on the season and, you know, being the second best striker for this team. You hate to see it, but I want to wrap things up before we get into this Loudoun preview. Do we give the team their flowers? Do we remain cautious? You know, we interviewed a lot of people afterwards. There's some videos we're hoping to release, and everyone just kept saying the same thing. We needed the win, but
yeah, I think the problem is that this season's a little different, right? We've already seen some wins from this team. We've also seen a lot better performances too. What we really need is to kind of string those wins together. Funny enough, last time we won 2 games in a row was a midweek game where we beat Birmingham and then went and beat Tampa the following Saturday. So I don't know if there's maybe some foreshadowing here or something.
There was a player that interviewed with us and said they preferred midweek games because they don't have to train.
Was that Maxi or no?
I don't know, maybe. And they just got to say like, yeah, I don't have to train. I just play, I regen, I recover, we do
Yeah, I
tactics,
think that was
and then
that
I
was
play again.
one post game when we were talking to Maxi, and he was just like, "Yeah, it's easier to just like not train, just go home and regen and start again." So I don't want to like be too critical. I maybe not sound like it, but we are actually very happy about getting the win. We desperately needed this. This team was circling the drain. Our concern here is that, okay, potentially Clay is what Michael's saying. That might be right. I don't remember. It's been a while. Anyways, like we need to see it on Saturday, right? You can't go into Saturday and lose. A draw would not be the best, but it's at least that you're starting that, okay, we haven't lost in the last 2 games, right? It's something to build
we've stopped
upon.
the bleeding.
We've stopped the bleeding. We need that. They need that collective mentality, and they need to play as a unit and move forward.
Agreed. So let's get into the Eastern Conference standings now here for a second. After this result, winning at home solves everything, right? The 3 points now take RIFC back into the playoff mixer in that 8th position on 20 points with a 5-5-9 record. Can they continue the points collection? Can they learn the lessons? I don't know, because it didn't come at the expense of open play goals. So we will wait and see as they head into this final third of the season.
Goals are goals at the end of the day.
We've talked at length. We'd rather see goals almost than results at times, because goals are an indication that progress is being made. Absolutely. If they didn't get this penalty, and that was the argument for player of the match, was, Maxi got the go-ahead goal, but Koke kept 3 from going in at very difficult levels.
There's the one where they cut us apart, and was it Darren Smith was just wide open, and Koke made such a great save there to just stop it from going into the bottom corner. I swear, as I saw that unfolding, I'm like, we're about to get scored on. So that's why
you watch soccer, the poetry in motion, even if it's against you. But getting into this Loudoun United side, on the other hand, it feels like maybe some of the rage that this team was channeling from the news that leaked out earlier this season about their operational inadequacies around the club has finally begun to die out. Maybe they finally got a staff member who can wash their jerseys and wash their boots for them so that they don't have to. Maybe that has taken the wind out of their sails. You
get that silver spoon and
you just start getting pampered. They started the year much stronger, fighting for contention amongst Charleston and Louisville City at the top of the conference table, but they've recently hit this rough patch. Despite that, somehow with this drop in form, they still have maintained a 3rd place record of 8-3-7 in the Eastern Conference.
The 2 teams at the top are hoarding all the points.
we're going to talk about next week at length the points per game, the schedule fitness ahead, and kind of how these 2 teams get through that. But it has been no easy feat along the way. Kind of getting into this head-to-head, Jason, where have these 2 teams historically stood? Because we know that Loudoun United kind of has Rhode Island FC's number.
Yeah, definitely to a certain extent. This is another one of those teams. To be fair to RFC, they're still kind of a new team in their 2nd year, but this is one of those teams that's frustrated RIFC. We have not beaten them. And they're our first away meeting last year, August 24th, a 0-0 draw. There was a penalty save, if I remember there. I forget, was it Zach Ryan?
Zach Ryan took it off of a Jojea Quizera handball in the box, or red card, one of the 2.
I think Baldo doesn't lie there. If I remember, Zach Ryan was kind of like taunting a little bit there, a little overconfident, and of course, doesn't make it there. And then it, just in true Draw Kings fashion, like, what if we just played another 0-0 draw against Loudoun when they made the trip up to Smithfield about a month or 2 there later?
Ain't no party like a 0-0 party.
Yeah. It's funny because in a way, they were an interesting team where last year they were kind of up and down, where they were at times really fun to watch, but they kind of just kept shooting themselves in the foot. In a way, they almost felt like they kind of canceled us out, in that they similar styles. They played either 3-4-3, 3-5-2 kind of thing. A lot of players who were positionally flexible, but they've kind of changed this year. And when we met them earlier this year, Abdul Latif Abukara got 2 on us in a very short span of time. I think it was about 10 minutes there, throwing a red card on our side. And Loudoun took all 3 points and blouses, at that point.
It's a painful memory of a pretty poor start from Rhode Island FC's side. Almost felt like these two teams, we thought the direction they would go was the opposite. We thought Loudoun hadn't done enough in the offseason to garner the support of any kind of competitive run. Meanwhile, RIFC were the darlings, and the script was flipped. RIFC floundered out the gate, and Loudoun went on this just historic run for them as a group. But kind of getting into where they've been since we last saw them back in May, or excuse me, was it May or was it March? I think
It was March.
It was March. It was a very early game.
Long time. I think it was like the end of March, but yeah.
They've picked up numerous wins. They continued a pretty good season run up until May 10th, and that's an important date in Loudoun's timeline. We'll get back to in a second. But their form, like I said, has completely hit the brakes. They are now winless in 8 matches across all competitions. And we
don't count the penalty win in Jägermeister Cup.
Nobody counts that because we wouldn't count ours against Hartford. But what's concerning, breaking down this Loudoun United kind of situation, is that the club has demonstrated that they can put wins together, right? Like they go out and they beat some incredible teams. Some of them were teams that everyone's been beating up on, but some of them were teams that people thought Loudoun had no business defeating, and they became, we called them the Dark Pegasus of this year's Eastern Conference. Interestingly enough, when we were talking about perfect seasons, Louisville City was the final team to fall, but Loudoun made a run at that claim themselves, perfectly winning 6 matches at the beginning of the season, comfortably putting them in a third place position, where it was like, some of the horses ran out the gate and then some horses never left the gate. That was kind of the gap that had widened at the beginning. But since this 8-match winless, that gap has considerably narrowed. Now only 1 point separating third and fourth place in the table standings. We thought that for a while there was only going to really be one final playoff berth for people to jockey for that home positioning. It looks like 2 are now back on the menu as Loudoun hasn't been able to get traction around that time. That being said, Loudoun has seen success primarily at home this season on a 5-2-2 record. They have squeezed out some away wins, but again, those were against the teams at the bottom of the tables, respectively, in the East and the West. The teams where they've beat and everyone's been really impressed have always been at Sagra Field. In parallel to Rhode Island's FC's success, they've also excelled in the USL Jägermeister Cup. When we look at how they've won in Group 5, so they've outright won a group against Lou City, which is no small feat. In fact, it was their first ever home victory against that side. I didn't realize, they're both teams that have been around for a while. I didn't realize that Lou has kind of had numbers on other teams for a very long time, considering our success last season. It puts them at the top of Group 5. They've now advanced to the quarterfinals of the Jägermeister Cup, set to take on Sacramento Republic. But this could be a snapshot, Jason, in time. This match could be a preview of potentially a semifinal or a final against Loudoun in the Jägermeister Cup. So we may have to yet see this team one more time. We looked at the table standings for all of the advancing teams, and at the time, the 2 teams that kind of had us questioning things were the winners of Sacramento and Loudoun, and then it was the San Antonio team. Weren't sure yet which one of those, because we refuse to believe Hartford's going to make it any further in this cup competition. But listen, here's the most important part about Loudoun right now that exists, is they are mostly healthy with the exception of one mainstay injury, which I think has been the unraveling of their success in Jacob Erlandson. He went out in the May 10th just murder of Lexington Sporting Club. 5-1, Loudoun wins. He goes off on crutches. Hasn't really been seen since. He tried to get into one game, played a few minutes, but hasn't been yet seen again. He's been a spine on that back line, and I think you have some defensive numbers which are going to show Loudoun's collapse here defensively over this last set of games. But head coach Ryan Martin may have found some answers to the struggling form for this team, as he's been very busy in this summer transfer window. First, now with the signing of Quimi Ordonez, and then now a recent loan signing of Chicago Fire midfielder Omari Glasgow. So one's a midfielder, one's a forward. We just talked about defense. Hard to say. It's weird to think that a team that's been scoring as many goals as Loudoun has a goal scoring problem. but here we are nevertheless. So it could be interesting to see if one or both of these players are available for selection this Saturday. We saw Kobe Hernandez-Foster come immediately from the lights and play in that Detroit City FC side, so there's no reason to not think that they won't. But
Kano did the same thing with Corcoran.
Exactly. So we'll have to see what Corcoran can do. We'll have to see what these two new players can do, and we'll have to see what Atkinson can do on the night.
But yeah, when we talk about this Loudoun team, they really want to break down defenses with a bit of death by football there. The good old 1,000 kind of passes there. Kind of what we were doing a little bit earlier on in the season, maybe depending on how things pan out. I'm still not 100% sure where we're going from there, but you know, they love that build up, kind of like the waiting there, like a spider waiting to kind of attack its prey there, kind of build up, maintain that possession, continue to load those passes there, try and get players like Florian Velo and Abakora on the ball there. We have seen, though, that when these big names don't kind of produce for them, they have struggled to kind of get that result. On top of the fact that despite scoring a decent amount of goals, they also have a pretty high goals against. They are not the most solid defensively. It's kind of high risk, high reward in that regards. And kind of when we look back to their collapse there that you've talked about in early May, their XG against has doubled from 0.97 to 2.16, and huge upswing there in final entry, third against, and 36% increase in save attempts, meaning that they're not stopping those shots from getting towards their keeper. They're making Furrow work for his
lot
check
harder.
there. Yeah.
A lot harder. And listen, when you look at that, that tells me that there's a way, if a team is brave, to find a way to bypass, because again, with no Erlinson, I don't think their defensive troubles have been fixed or repaired at this point. But will these new additions, can Loudoun turn this around and rejuvenate their campaign to, I mean, their goal right now is to keep a playoff berth in home possession, right? They want to play a playoff game at Segra Field. Can they do it? I don't know. It's going to be hard to say. But what we do know is that fashion will finally be returning to Centerville Bank Stadium in the golf hat and elbow pad jacket style of one Ryan Martin. I'm excited. I'm pumped.
What do you think fashion mogul Ame thinks about this?
We'll have to ask him. We'll have to see if he just stares. I mean, he's seen him already, at least. No, he hasn't seen. He hasn't seen it. He may have notes for him. We'll have to see if they talk after the game. But let's get into the ref assignments for this match and get into the preview.
Yeah, so we have head ref Natalie Simon here with assistant refs Emilcar Sekaju Hernandez and Adam Cook, with the fourth official of Jonathan Luck.
A lot of fans across the USL seem to have a bone to pick with Natalie Simon. I only remember her as a decent ref. She reffed the earlier game this year against Charleston for us, and I don't remember her being a problem.
I just remember our team being bad.
Yeah, I mean, there was only, I look back at the record, there was 3 yellows and a fair number of fouls. So, I mean, like, I don't know if the argument is, would you rather have a ref call a bunch of fouls that slows the game down but keeps the cards in the pocket, where the ILFC is trying to find their physicality, their identity of being a bruiser squad? It's something that Devin Kerr, our friend of the pod, mentioned in his USL All Access show, of saying, like, where's that fight? Where's that physical approach? So I don't know if a ref like this hurts or helps. We've got a lot of friends now within the podcast space that talk about the reffing. Some of them, one of them actually refs within the community, so they know these people firsthand. It's always interesting to kind of get the ref report. We'll have to start bringing that back from the Seth the ref days and go from there. But let's get into the injury report and kind of preview what this could look like for Rhode Island FC here. 2 injuries that we know of are confirmed as of right now, but that could change by Saturday. Grant Stoneman, had a conversation with him at the game. He's getting closer and closer, but he's not quite there yet. Frank Nodarce remains questionable. Hard to determine if he'll be available. I imagine you're going to see him probably in the next couple of weeks. I think this is still too soon. And then that Jacob Erlinson injury, he hasn't had an update since the game he got pulled in late June, but I don't yet know if he's been cleared to play. If they can get him on the pitch, they'll want him. So we could say that he's either out or questionable here in this match. But Jason, let's talk through the Rhode Island FC formation, because I threw you for kind of a curveball here. I decided to go full 3 games in 7 days rotation, something we've argued about chopping and changing, and I decided let's just completely throw all common sense out the window.
Let's just lean into it. Kano says, hey, we haven't found it yet. Let's keep turning it around until we find it. But yeah, I mean, like in regards to the chop and change, there's 3rd game in 7 days, but then we also have a week off here ish before the next match. So, Koke's return. So obviously we will see him back in net there. We're thinking here for a back line, or back 3, I should say, of Rio Hope Gun, Karifa Yao, and Ame Mabika.
I think Hope Gun could swap for Mabika or Bacharak. It's just really which one of them needs a little bit of downtime from 2 other games. This backline has played a majority of all of this time, and Bacharak's so quick to coming back from injury. Maybe he's the guy you give.
Yeah, maybe don't run him into the ground just yet. Ame's been with the team a little longer. He's probably more in terms of his fitness levels are a bit higher there. But obviously also guaranteed to be wrong.
Of course.
That's what we do. That midfield 4 there, Danny Rivera into the lineup there with Amos Shapiro, Thompson, and Maxi Rodriguez in the middle, with Aldair Sanchez out on the left there. We've got fullbacks. Why not use them? See what happens. Throw a curveball at the teams there.
Rivera obviously hasn't played a lot of minutes, so he's got probably some of the freshest legs to play on that right side. Holstead looked completely gassed by the end, and he had that time where it took him a while to get off the pitch. Amos felt like a tactical substitution to get him some rest, and then Maxi just didn't play enough minutes. So I think this could be the freshest midfield, barring Zach Harivo maybe getting some more minutes, but he only got 6. So, is that enough time to make a start? Probably not.
Yeah, and then we saw Noah get some rest there as well, too. Why not get him back out there for some starting minutes? JJ Williams, obviously, due to suspension, bring him right back in. And, hey, get busy out there. Let's have Dwayne Atkinson and kind of see what he can kind of maybe wreak some havoc on this Loudoun back line, who's kind of been leaking goals a bit here.
Unlike Corcoran, who only has, 72 hours, we know that Busy has been with the squad for an extended period of time. Interesting. I'm curious, as his visa cleared to do this announcement. From what I understand about visas, when you come on a visitor one, you usually have to leave the country and re-enter on your P1 visa. So I'm curious if he had to leave the country and then quickly turn back around. I wonder where they go for that. Do they have to go back to their home country and then fly back?
Yeah, like in the regards, well, the closest would be to send him to Canada real quick, right? And then
I've done that before. I've gone across Canada's border and turned back 5 minutes later. Spoiler alert, it's not a great thing. But so I imagine he's ready to go, and why not? Quizera, for all intent, I think he had a interesting game earlier in this week, but I think he also probably put some of the most mileage on his legs. By the way, with Quizera, I forgot to ask you this question. I think we saw a side of him that we hadn't realized. We talked about it at length while watching him on the pitch. It almost feels like, as a natural winger, he's got blinders on to only look at kind of one corridor. We saw him running a lot in the central channels and then completely miss better passes and then completely get torn off the ball several times. I'm wondering if that's something that he needs to work on in his game, is that spatial awareness, because it seemed really lacking on the night.
Yeah, and I think that's probably just a symptom of him playing like a left winger, left wing back, left midfielder, in the sense that he's got his, like you said, he's got his corridor. He's in his channel. He understands what's going on there. You put him out to the open ocean, and he kind of gets lost there. And
he's a NASCAR driver. You're asking him to turn right, and he's only knows how to turn left.
I don't know how to do that yet. I gotta take my Class A driver's license.
Getting into this Loudoun United setup, it looks like it's most likely going to be a mixture of Hugo Farreau in the back line with Keegan Tingy. Cole Turner has been the swap for the injured Erlandson. Giannis Learman, who got his first goal with the club just recently, and Kwame Awahu on that back line. In the midfield 4, it's going to be Pedro Santos, Drew Skundrich, Tommy McCabe, and Abdulatif Abukura. We know him. We love him. And then in the front, a little bit of a rotation. We've seen Ryan. We've seen Leggett. We've seen Fallot. But it looks like right now Riley Bideau is kind of up in that front attacking position. Florian Velo still very much on that left side somewhere to combine with Abukura. Hard to say if these two new players will insert themselves into the starting 11, or Coach Ryan Martin will give them a little bit of time and see them as a second half adjustment. But this is for what it's worth. This has been the formation that's worked for Loudoun most of the season.
Yeah, we're pretty familiar with Zach Ryan, but he's been kind of dropped here, kind of a bit more of a sub role here. But, you know, Ryan here going with the classic 4-4-2, proper football in it. You got to love it.
So let's talk about Queenie, because I think that's really the only player we need to profile, since we think he should have a major impact on this match.
Yeah, and so when we look at Kimi here, or Archimedes Ordonez, full name here, striker forward, you know, Cincinnati, Ohio native. He spent, crazy enough, he spent time in Columbus Crew and FC Cincinnati youth team.
I thought that was heresy.
He apparently has absolutely no respect for the Hell is Real Derby. Like that. I don't know what Ohio, like, what do you have Ohioans like think of him?
I actually chat. What do you call an Ohio person? What is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Carry on.
Anyway, so after that, he kind of went abroad. He spent some time in Sweden, in Moldova, and some team names I'm probably going to butcher. Well, Ostersund, that's not too hard, but Zimbru Chisinau. I mean,
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Exactly.
Yeah, great movie. But you know, according to Coach Ryan Martin here, he's got great size, good feet. He reads the game at a very high level. So I think he has some pretty high expectations for him. He hasn't had a ton of league play this season, but his claim to fame actually is with the Gold Cup semifinal game against the USA for the Guatemala national team. He did get the assist for the one goal that Guatemala was able to score. Why he's going to be here important is that, like we'd mentioned there, if some of the players like Abakura or Velo are kind of not really firing on all cylinders, it seems like they kind of need that second threat. Maybe that's why Bidois has been playing there a bit more, but they've been a bit stagnant, maybe relied too much on those players. So if he can potentially bring a spark to their offense, score a few goals, maybe also just become another threat for the back line to have to worry about, that can open up space and opportunities for Velo or Abakura to kind of get some goals there. And potentially there's always the idea of looking forward to the future. If Abdul Latif continues to perform the way he has this season, obviously suitors might come for him. So you kind of always got to have that eye in the future of like, how do we reinforce the team going forward?
I just hate the idea that somehow Abukura needs more support to figure out how to score beyond his 11 goals and 1 assist this season. It'd be nice if one of our players could have 11 goals. I would enjoy that thoroughly. The chat says it's either Buckeyes or it's Ohioans. One was a statement, one was curiosity. So we're going to go with Ohioans. Let's get into kind of the topic points that we wanted to touch base on around this game. And starting here, kind of, let's get the easy one out of the way here. This is another team that we haven't yet bested. Can RIFC make it 2 in 1 week? We talked about Pittsburgh. Haven't done that in the regular season. We put Detroit to bed. Now we've got Loudoun, the third darling child. If this was the 3 Bears and Goldilocks, can we take care of 2 here and there?
I mean, I'm going to still count it, even though it was in the Jägermeister Cup, but we went out there and took on Lily Ball and got a win. And we did that away. That, pretty impressive in my book there. Wasn't a pretty game, but at the end of the day, the results kind of all that matters.
So that was a 1-0. Yesterday was a 1-0. So you're saying this is going to be a 1-0 on the weekend?
1-0 to the Arsenal or whatever. I don't know. I mean, they've been a stubborn team for us to play against. Like I'd mentioned a little earlier when we were previewing what they did last year, they kind of mirror some of the stuff we did. I mean, you even talk about the death by 1,000 passes. We were trying some of that earlier this year. Maybe didn't work out too well for us as we're kind of shifting maybe back to some sort of version of a 3-back line team. But in terms of if this team, RIFC, can build upon this momentum, they can get the pressing right, they can kind of get some of their mojo back in terms of physicality and not just let Loudoun dictate play. and really take it to them, especially considering in the abysmal form that they're in, there's some opportunity here for us to pick up points against a team who is not in form. I mean, if we also want to tie that into another talking point, I think we've been unlucky in some regards to playing some teams out of form, right? We were coming up against a Sacramento Republic team who are like, they're swirling the drain right now. They're having a rough go at it. And guess what? They come out here and they just punch us right in the mouth and just take all 3 points. And a very impressive game from them.
There's probably only been 3 matches that I can think of that we've actually played teams out of form. I would argue you could maybe say Phoenix is a fourth, but I would say more Phoenix didn't have a form to begin with, and they were just playing loose and fast. I would say it was Birmingham Legion, having recently departed with Tommy Sohn. It was Tampa Bay Rowdies, who just a game or 2 later departed from their head coach. And then I would say arguably Oakland Roots, which Gavin Glinton was gone maybe 1 or 2 games after that, which have been 3 of our most respectable wins. Is there another game out there that I'm missing where we were able to take a team on? Because I feel like so many of the teams that are now out of form, looking at Loudoun, we caught them when they were at their brightest. Is this the pendulum swinging back our way? We talk about luck every once in a while. Is this our chance now to get some points against an out of form Loudoun? Or are we about to be in for a surprise on this game on Saturday? Because they've been off since Friday. Who knows what tricks they're pulling out of the bag?
I think it is a very good opportunity. It's that balance, though, where you have to have respect for your opponent and realize that you're not just playing some amateur side. You have to understand that despite the fact that they are out of form, if you don't go out there, give it your all, fight with the collective, you give up too many mistakes, too many chances, you can get them back into form.
So what you're saying is don't let that happen to yet another team using us.
Put the ball in the back of the net, like Kano said.
So we talked about the players likely to come in, but I want to ask, are they X factors? Do you think that they're going to add different dimensions? These teams watch tape on each other. Like right now, RIFC, that's pretty much all they can do as they go between recovery, between games, is they're going to watch tape. How valuable will it be to have X factors like these 2 new players on each side, both of them a midfielder and a forward? Do you think, well, I guess 2 midfielders in Rhode Island's case, but let's call it a forward for fun here. Do you think there'll be the X factors? Do you think some sort of goal contribution will come from either of these players in either camp?
I think there's a very good possibility that they can. In regards to, like you said, both sides have brand new players. I mean, Corkan only played, what was it, 60, 70 minutes before he came off for us. So it's not, I thought
he played a lot longer than that, actually.
Maybe 80. I don't remember. But in the regards to, like, that's not enough tape for them to, like, we've got this guy locked down. We know how to beat him, right? So throw in the X factor of Busy there. They've got some new players on their side too. But with the kind of form that they've been in, and after coming off a clean sheet, like, I think we have that potential to trend in the right direction if we can kind of use those X factors on our side to our advantage and just kind of be cautious to a certain extent, keep them at arm's length on their end, just kind of feel it out there and really build that confidence at home and kind of try and turn it into a fortress. We've still got a couple of home games here to in this final stretch to really kind of start to pick up some points.
Speaking of in this stretch, we could see them in a potential future semifinal or even the final, depending on the randomness of the draw. Does this game set up? Is there things that they want to make sure that they establish now for a potential run-in in a couple of weeks, I guess, into a potential semi or cup final?
I mean, in regards to that, I kind of want to take the Kano approach there.
Don't you say game at a time.
One game at a time. In that regards to, like, we just talked about X factors, right? So we don't know what both sides will look like in if let's say a month out or whatever, we maybe run into them again. At that point, those players will settled in or gotten recalled to a World Cup squad or something, like play absolutely no factor not at all. So there's just a lot of variables in there. I think it'll give both coaches some more tape and kind of ideas of what to expect. But, good coaches will always kind of have something up their sleeve and kind of be working and building on that form.
So then let's talk about the tactics of this game. How does RFC take all 3 points? I've kind of got it down to tactically 2 decisions between Kano that he needs to make as he builds the squad. One, do you maintain a high press and keep the ball in Loudoun's final third? They seem to be a team that struggles to break out of presses. They don't want the ball in their final third. They're much more comfortable intercepting the ball in the middle third. And then, like you said, building up comprehensive passing, wearing down a defense, and then eventually having a look at goal, getting into their final third. Or the opposite of it is do you play a possession style, draw Loudoun in, have them commit too many numbers forward, and then catch them on the counter? We saw some countering yesterday in that game. I was excited to see it. Didn't always work out. The team's trying to play faster. They're trying to play crispier. It's not quite there yet, but you saw some glimpses of what they could do as Detroit kind of kept the ball for a majority of the time in Rhode Island's final third or that middle third. So I want to say then, if coach has to determine between those 2 tactics as a majority mainstay, the only other thing then is Rhode Island FC has to come out the gate swinging. A very interesting stat for Loudoun: they have conceded 16 first half goals out of their 18 matches. Now, obviously, with that perfect streak they had for the first 6, I think they won 7 out of their first 8 regular season matches. They have had the ability to come back and equalize and then eventually win, but it's not a good indication that Loudoun has at times had to chase games. We know the strength of this squad when they score first. So I think right now we need to see an Atkinson, JJ Williams combo wombo scored in the first half, and I think that could put Loudoun's chances to bed.
Absolutely. I think that we want to get the ball to Busy, and as the kids say, got to let him cook,
But not if you're the WNBA. You can't say let her cook. That's a big no-no. But did you see that promotion from Gatorade?
No.
They thought someone didn't do the proofreading, and they did a let her cook for WNBA, and it did not come across well.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hashtag not a WNBA podcast. Let's talk about the score predictions, guaranteed to be wrong as well. I'll tell you, Wednesday's match has not restored my faith in this team quite yet, but I do believe that the win that they experienced on Wednesday could be the spark of something more, could be the momentum generator that we're all hoping it is. But I think Loudoun is mostly good for a goal in every single match, regardless of away or home. Their PPG has been stellar, but their goals per game has still been on one of the higher quartiles within the league. They usually get the 1. So if Loudoun, which they can score, that means we've got to score 2. Do we have that in the tank for Rhode Island FC? I'm not sure. So my body's telling me 1-1 draw, but I would like to see this be a 2-1 win and kind of continue on that momentum build, get 2 wins strung together.
I'm not 100% sold either, but at the same time, I'm gonna put my faith in Busy. I'm gonna say 3-1.
That's gonna be weird if he doesn't even start.
Yeah, I don't know. Then at that point, it's out the window.
Does he get a hat trick when you say 3-1, or is he involved in any of those
goal
goals?
and an assist?
Oh, okay.
There you
Big
go.
pressure for the Jamaican.
Yeah.
All right.
Apparently, it's a better league, so I mean, he should just start, punching down and show us what's up.
Reminder, this game is Folklore Night, which is the match of the final fireworks show of the summer season to the tune of the Taylor Swift music. Cannot wait to hear her tunes while watching some fireworks. As a fun fact, it's just going to be an exciting night because I'm clearly the biggest Swiftie of all time.
T-Swizzle for Rizzle? Apparently, you can make friendship bracelets in the Fan Fest.
So that's a big thing.
Is that
for
like a
T-Swift.
thing? Is it specifically for the Swifties, or did like?
No, it's a Swiftie thing. So if
Okay.
do you see the I'm in my RIFC era scarf? It's a friendship bracelet. She's big on the friendship bracelet. So they are free. There's gonna be multiple stations for kids, for Swiftie fans. You can go make your favorite friendship bracelet. If one of you wants to come bring a Raising Anchor one, or just anything that you want to write as a message, I'll rock a T Swiftie friendship bracelet for sure.
Heck yeah. So you're the biggest T Swiftie.
Biggest I know.
So what's your favorite Taylor Swift song?
The only song I could tell you, which is The Last Great American Dynasty. No question. You know why?
Why?
Because it's a song about Rhode Island. It's a historically accurate song about the house that she purchased in Watch Hill and it's an interesting vibe. We'll play it. I can't play it on the outro because we'll get slapped for copyright infringement. She's very good about checking up on her copyrights, but yeah, we'll play it on the ride to Centerville Bank Stadium on Saturday. You're gonna jam out. You're gonna have a great time. How about you? Do you have a favorite Swiftie song?
Unpopular opinion. I think country Taylor Swift was probably better.
Be careful. We do not need an
about
army of Swifties shadow banning us.
what was the song about? I've got t-shirts, he wears short skirts, cheer captain, and
I mean,
she's on
you
the
worked at a
bleachers or
retail
something?
store that played every single one of her catalog every single minute of every single day. You tell me.
I have no idea. I don't remember the name of that song. For the longest time, because I don't listen to popular music that much. What was the Shake It, right? Was that a hit for her? No idea that she sang that. I only recently discovered that. I was like, that's a T Swift song? So weird.
So now that's your favorite. Listen,
No, I do not care for that.
I will tell you this though. I desperately need to buy the Chip in the Woods t-shirt. That's a spoof of her cover from one of her albums. I need that shirt. I normally don't buy the merch. So for RIFC communications, for RIFC marketing that listen to this, I still haven't even gotten a wave kit, and I'm not expecting them to give us one. I just have not been able to purchase one. We've been told more wave kits will be available for tomorrow's match. Still haven't locked down when they'll be available online to order, but I haven't even been able to get one to rep on our show. So I know that the shirts can go even faster. Let's talk. I need a shirt reserved. I'll buy it. I don't need to be given it, but don't let it go out of stock because we're too busy covering this club. Don't let that happen, marketing team. Listen, this has been a fun show. It's a long show. These always are, especially midweek. 17 hours of podcasting in 1 week. That's a new record. But just broadcast notes for the game this weekend. If you're not able to make the match, you can tune into ESPN Plus, Nesson Plus, and 790 The Score for the radio play-by-play. Speaking of 790, we should have Tom Quinlan on the show next week to kind of just talk shop during the off week with no game. He's penciled in. He's not penned in yet, so we'll try to make sure that he locks in and confirms for that. But that's also, of course, if he doesn't get too distracted by political press release battles over whether or not the Revolution are going to move to Boston or not. So that's a tricky situation. So hopefully we'll have him on. We might have a player interview lined up. We might not, and some exciting features to come. So stay tuned. And yeah, let's get out of here.
All right, y'all. Make sure to check out our friends over at the Blazing Musket for all of your New England soccer coverage, and that's including RIFC. At RIFC Podcast. We have an Instagram at Raising Anchor, and there's that website you can check out, raisinganchorpodcast.com. Anchor's up. Let's go out there and start a streak.
Anchor's up.